Hey there everyone, Deox Dex here, coming at you with a late night deck profile of my Altergeist. I have really come to love this deck and find it really fun, and I believe this deck is quite underrated and quite underrepresented on the competitive scene. So without further ado, let's get started. So for my build, this is pretty standard. You gotta play the 3 multi-faker. This is the reason why this deck is so good. Just when you activate a trap, it's a free summon, and a free summon from deck. 3 Marionetter lets you set your traps, which are some of the best cards. In the deck. Too bad Personal Spoofing doesn't have Altergeist in its name, or else that would be busted. 3 Mellowseek, another staple 3 of. Because it can attack directly, it's non-destructive spot removal, and when sent to grave, of course, you get a free search. Next we got 2 Siliquitus. It's like a pseudo Kieran. I mean, this card is just really busted because you just loop it around. You have the potential to loop it around, like with Conquery here. Play this as a 1 of because you know you can stop attacks and it's like a fiendish chain of sorts, and it's a level 5, so you don't want to play more than 1, and its really purpose is in your hand. Like if you have Siliquitus out and this is in your hand, like you could do this. Your opponent goes in for attack, summon Conquery. They attack again, Siliquitus, bounce Conquery and the attacking monster. Then they attack for a 3rd time, summon Conquery. So with Siliquitus and Conquery, you have the potential to stop 3 attacks in 1 turn, which is nuts. For hand traps, got the 3 Ash. Let me fix this. Got the 3 Ash. Of course, it's staple, best hand trap of the format. And other than Max C, the best hand trap ever made. 3 Ghost Reapers. This is what I would play at an event. At locals, these would be in the side because locals, most of the people that sorry, can't talk. Sorry about that. At my locals, most people play stuff that you wouldn't normally see at a regional or a YCS or whatever. So these would be in the side at locals, but at an event, they would be in the main because a lot of decks running around right now that rely on certain monsters from the extra deck, and you don't always have a full field of monsters, so 3 cherries is acceptable. For spells, got 2 Pot of Duality and 2 Pot of Desires, just to boost consistency, and more often than not you're summoning on your opponent's turn. You're special summoning on your opponent's turn, and this boosts consistency. But Duality is a brick to draw into, so you don't want to see it more than once per duel normally. So only 2, and Desires offers great consistency. For traps, got the 3 Personal Spoofing. This is the best card in the deck next to Multi-Faker, because shuffle an Altergeist to add an Altergeist, that's really good. I just wish, like I said earlier, it had Altergeist in its name, or else this would probably be one of the best decks of the format, if not the best, in my opinion. 2 Protocol keeps your stuff from getting negated, like it's a good way around Strike or Ash. 2 Manifestation, it's easily recyclable. You could bump Protocol up to 3 and this to 1 because it's self-recycling without Siliquitus' effect, but I prefer 2, 2, 3. Which is the standard. 2 Anti-Spell Fragrance, because you run a very low spell count, and a lot of decks rely on spells this format, plus you gotta main the 1 Imperial Order. Really, the only things that these would come out for is the mirror match, honestly. Next we have 3 Infinite Impermanence. This is an excellent card going second. if you open up this in Multi-Faker and your opponent has a very annoying monster effect on board, you know, just play this from your hand and you get a free summon. And a free summon from the deck. So you're essentially going +2. Negating an effect, free summon, and a free summon out of the deck as well. 3 Mind Crush, a lot of decks search, so 3 Mind Crush works really well. Plus triggering Multi-Faker again. And 2 Solemn Strike, and 1 Solemn Judgment. I mean, sure, Judgment can't negate traps or spells, but this is also another way around Red Reboot. And these negate monster effects, which is a majority of what you have to worry about these days. So I'm actually considering cutting Judgment and putting in the 3rd Strike, but I like this the way it is, because Judgment can stop things that Strike can't, and Strike can stop things that Judgment can't. So all around, I think it's a decent lineup. Another reason to cut Judgment is the new time constraints, but oh well. I always side this out if I go to game 3. I'm always siding out Judgment, just because of time. That's it. It's a 41 card main deck because it's uber consistent and you can go through your resources really fast. So in my opinion, you can afford to run 41 cards. For extra deck, you got 2 Hextia. Just really good all around. This thing can get really beefy if it points to a big enough Altergeist, plus negating traps and spells. So it helps out with Protocol, but you don't go into it every game. The one you do go into every game, or like 95% of games, is Link Kuriboh. Because when you have Meloseek on board and it served its purpose, you go into this, and then you plus off of Meloseek's effect, and this also serves as another interruption. So if you have Conqueria in hand, Siliquidus on board in this, that makes for a potential 4 attack interruption. Potential interruption for 4 different attacks, all in one turn. So Link Kuriboh is really good. And it can float if you have a level 1 on board. So Link Kuriboh is MVP. Borlo Dragon, you can go into this, but if you do, you're normally in a really bad spot. So just run it normally for like a Cherry's target. It's more often than not a Cherry's target. Firewall, really no need to use this, so another Cherry's target. Unicorn, you can make it. Phoenix, Cerberus, you can do the link lock with these two. Well, not extra link, but you know what I mean. Maintain field presence with these two. And Unicorn definitely does help because with extra spot removal, but they work better as Cherry's targets because you don't go into them too often. But you can go into these, but not very often. You can always Cherries them though, but more often than not, you'll just Cherry something more important. 1 Akashek Magician for reasons I will show you in just a minute. And the other Cherry's targets, my main Cherry's targets: Spiral Double Helix, Electromite, Isolde, Kagari, Shizuku, and Buster. I hate this big bastard. He sucks. Shizuku and Kagari, you run both because depending on the build, some Sky Striker builds depend on Kagari more and some depend on Shizuku more. So that makes your decision easier on which one you want to use cherries on. Isolde is for obvious reasons because Goki sucks. Spiral is a bit of a glass cannon in my opinion, but I do really like the deck. But when it goes off, it goes off. So you want to get that double helix out of there. And pendulums are still a thing because of this guy here. So need the Electromite. That's it for extra deck. 15, of course. Side 2 Kumongiths. These were the only kaijus available to me at the moment, so I just decided to run these. It has good synergy, like with Siliquidus and with Akashek Magician, because like if your opponent has a nice board, you can Kaiju their monster, Siliquitus, bounce it back. Kaiju another monster, link away if you with 2 Altergeists. Of course, you're summoning this to an extra deck zone that it's already open. Link into Akashek, bounce back, Kumungus, and then Kaiju another monster. So you have the potential to Kaiju 3 times in one turn. With Siliquitus, it's twice, which is good still, but it's even better when you can do it 3 times because of Akashek Magician. And also, another thing about these Kaijus, like the insane new Goki board where they can extra link you along with having a fully co-linked Tri-Gate Wizard out. If you have the Kaiju plus evenly matched, that's going to be a blowout right there. Because, of course, you Kaiju the Tri-Gate, then go straight to battle phase, then end it, and drop evenly matched. So that way they have to banish all but 1 card. And that's a blowout, and if you do that, you just pretty much ruin their strategy. But you have to depend on 2 cards for this. A more surefire way is Sphere Mode, but I just can't find them right now. I mean, I do like the synergy that Kumungus has with Siliquitus and Akashek Magician. Well, not Kumungus, but any Kaiju. I like the synergy that the Kaijus have with Akashek Magician and Siliquitus, but you can rely less on other cards with Sphere Mode, and you really don't care about it taking up your normal summon. But with this, you don't have to take up your normal summon. Both have their ups, both have their downs, and I'm probably going to switch to Sphere Mode. I'll just keep testing it, see what happens. Raigeki, a board wipe. Well, against Nightmare decks, this thing doesn't do a very good job. But, like say if you Kaiju their Cerberus again, or get rid of their Cerberus and plop down Raigeki, then it's pretty much all over with their board. This is going to come out for something else. Probably going to play a 3rd Kaiju. Or also playing these shared rides. Sky Strikers search a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot, as you all know. But this card can lead to massive, massive pluses if they choose to go balls to the wall. And if you set shared ride going first, and then your opponent just goes ham with their searching, and then if you flip this, that leads to massive pluses, and you're more than likely going to break their board. So, shared ride is good. And then, also for side, we've got 3 evenly matched. I main this at locals, because of, like I said, all of the other decks that you don't normally see on the competitive scene that are played there, because people play there for fun, of course, and there are people testing for events. But I'm trying both evenly matched and cherries in the main. Not sure which one I like better. I'm kind of 50-50 about it, but for an event, a big event, I would go with cherries, probably. So, but evenly matched is definitely a staple sideboard card. I think it'll stay in the side. 2 Rivalry of Warlords. I mean, you could even main this, but this is a blowout against Spirals, a blowout against Goki because they use so many different types. This is a blowout against Sky Strikers. Well, not exactly a blowout, but it hurts them. Certain decks this doesn't do too good against, like the Mirror Match and whatever, so I prefer to side this. And there are other main deck choices that are better, so siding Rivalry. 2 Heavy Storm Duster for dealing with back row, and it's a trap, so it has synergy with Multi-Faker, but no more than 2, because this isn't exactly a back row heavy format. And then finally 3 Wiretap, because this isn't exactly an OTK deck. Most people don't describe the reason why you play Wiretap and Altergeist instead of Red Reboot, because you don't want to pay half your life points just to have them set their Red Reboot, when Red Reboot is normally sided for Altergeist. Because this isn't exactly an OTK deck. Then they just can activate it again, and hell, if they want to, they can set another one. Or a trap that could leave you in an even worse position, because Lord knows you're not going to OTK them. So, whereas Wiretap just sends it back to the deck and doesn't give them a free set. But, yeah, Wiretap is definitely an essential sideboard card in Altergeist. No one really ever, that I saw at least, went in depth of why you play Wiretap instead of Red Reboot in the side for Altergeist, which is kind of like common sense, but I felt like going into detail about it anyway, honestly. Well, that's it for the profile. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.